Turning to our breaking news at Kew, the site of a serious smash involving multiple police. Mark Santomartino is at the scene. Mark, what can you tell us?
Pete, we're on an overpass over the Eastern Freeway. If you have a look in that direction on the outbound side of the freeway, you can see about 500 metres away a whole heap of flashing lights. That's where we understand a multiple vehicle collision has occurred involving a truck as well as a police car. It's feared that there are multiple fatalities. However, we have not been able to confirm as to whether or not any of those were the officers involved. In just the last 30 seconds or so, police released a statement admitting and confirming that their officers had been involved in some way, shape or form. Witnesses here have said that they've seen multiple ambulances leaving the scene. However, we don't know which hospital they're being taken to or what condition those patients may be in. We're also in touch with the Police Association to try and confirm any of these injuries, but it is still so fresh that they don't have any detail as well. We'll try and get a little bit closer to the scene for you. Traffic is banked up for more than a kilometre. It's just past the Chandler Highway exit, so we will do our best to get a little bit closer to the scene for you.
Mark, multiple police officers are involved in this deadly crash.
We're right alongside the crash now, Pete, and have a much better idea of how it may have been able to play out. You can see over my shoulder a highway patrol car that has been completely crumpled, pushed into the centre median strip here on the Eastern Freeway. Behind that is the Connect Logistics truck that is believed to have hit it. It has a blue tarp over its front grille. There are also several other cars on the freeway which are damaged and believed to have been involved. The information that we're receiving is that the highway patrol car pulled over a vehicle to conduct a drug test. Two more police officers arrived as backup. That's when they were all collected by this semi-trailer. 4 police officers are understood to either be injured or deceased. That is yet to be confirmed, but either way, this is a tragic set of circumstances. There is a huge number of police here on scene. You can expect the Eastern Freeway to be closed for hours to come, Pete, as the major collision investigators have to delve deep into this one as to exactly why the officers were hit. We know they have that protocol to push right to the side of the freeway and for all cars around them to slow to 40 kilometres an hour. Why that hasn't happened will be a matter for them, but just to repeat the tragic news, we understand that 4 police officers have been involved in this crash and that they're either injured or potentially deceased. That will be confirmed in the hours to come, Pete.
Good evening, everyone. We begin with breaking and tragic news from Melbourne tonight, where 4 police officers have been killed in a terrible road accident. 9 reporter Mark Santomartino is on the scene for us. Mark, good evening. How did this awful incident unfold?
It's the single deadliest incident in Victoria Police's history, Pete, and it all began with a speeding driver. A Porsche 911 was absolutely flying down the Eastern Freeway. Just before 6 o'clock tonight, 2 officers pulled that driver over and decided they were going to impound that vehicle. As a result, they called for backup. Another 2 officers arrived and they were all standing on the side of the road in the emergency lane heading inbound. That is when the truck which is behind me, that logistics truck, it's a refrigeration truck carrying poultry, slammed into the back of them. All 4 officers were killed. This is our Chief Commissioner speaking moments ago.
They've requested support from 2 further highway patrol officers who have then attended the scene in support. And once those officers have arrived at the scene, they've not long been at the scene to assist with all 4 police officers out of their vehicles. With this particular person in terms of making those inquiries and conducting that vehicle impound. A large truck, a refrigerated truck, has then driven into these 4 police officers.
OK, Mark, the Premier has also released a statement. What did Daniel Andrews have to say?
Well, adding to the tragedy, Pete, is the fact that these officers were all relatively young. 3 men, 1 woman, 2 senior constables, 2 constables, pretty much fresh out of the academy. So the Premier did release a statement moments ago. It reads, "Tonight, 4 police officers lost their lives in the line of duty. And tonight, somewhere in our city, 4 families' hearts are breaking. Our hearts are breaking with them. Though we may not yet know their names, we will always call them heroes." As I said, Pete, this is the single deadliest incident in Victoria Police's history. They're going to take hours to make sure that they meticulously comb through this scene to get answers for those families.
As the Police Commissioner, you're deeply saddened by the events of tonight. It's a tragic night. It's a tragic night for Victoria Police. So you're deeply saddened. All the officers down here, I can tell you there's an eerie quiet down there that sometimes you don't see at crime scenes. It's an eerie quiet because everyone down there is feeling it at the moment. Everyone down there understands what a tragedy this is for the families of those officers. But it's a tragedy for the whole force, and they're all feeling that deeply over at the crime scene, down at that crime scene at the moment.
Mark, as you said at the start of our cross, a Porsche had been pulled over by the police officers, and we understand the driver of this Porsche has fled the scene on foot.
He's still outstanding tonight, which is incredibly remarkable and opportunistic on his part to take advantage of the tragedy to make sure that he could avoid any sort of sanction, Pete. His ID is still being worked on by police officers. They're expected to release that tomorrow morning if they don't catch him tonight. But just in the last few hours or so, some dash cam vision of the Porsche speeding down the Eastern Freeway has been posted online. It is absolutely flying. We're talking at speeds of at least 200 kilometres an hour. You can see from the vision it absolutely zooms past another car which was travelling at 100 kilometres an hour. We understand that it is a Porsche that was bought from a Melbourne dealership but bears Queensland plates. So its exact origin will need to be clarified by police when they have more information. They were unable to do so this evening. That driver is still outstanding, Pete.
OK, a terrible, terrible story. Mark Santomartino, thank you.
The first of the 4 Victoria police officers killed in the Eastern Freeway tragedy has been laid to rest. Leading Senior Constable Lynette Taylor was farewelled by 10 of her closest family and friends. Mark Santomartino reports.
Throwing a comforting arm around his weeping son, Stuart Schulz watched through pouring rain as the coffin carrying his wife Lynette Taylor was led from the police academy by the Chief Commissioner. Graham Ashton had grief etched across his face as he stepped aside for the motorcade and put this call out over the police radio to honour a fallen colleague.
I advise all members that Leading Senior Constable Lynette Taylor is leaving the police chapel for her last resting place. I ask all members to stand to and observe a minute's silence.
Pausing outside stations as close as Richmond and as far away as Shepparton and Gippsland, Victoria police officers answered as one, forbidden from gathering under strict coronavirus laws.
We will remember. We will remember.
At South Yarra, the Force's Deputy Commissioners saluted flags at half-mast after watching Lynette's funeral online, laying wreaths not just for a colleague, but a beloved mother of 2.
They will be lost without her. She looked after everyone. She cared for everyone and she lived life to the fullest.
Lynette Taylor was killed on the Eastern Freeway last week, wearing the badge and uniform she'd served with distinction for 31 years. A passion for road safety matched only by the care she afforded her stroke-affected sister.
Behind every uniform is a family member, and behind that family at the moment are grieving people that we need to support.
The pain, you could tell today, is real for them, but I also know that pain is for their colleagues as well.
At a time when none of us can travel, pain crossed state lines.
It's not enough, but it's as much as we can do.
With a grand public send-off on hold, dozens laid flowers bearing a clear message. Lynette Taylor will forever be in our hearts. Her contribution to Victoria will be remembered.
Reach out so that we always remember Lynette and what she sacrificed.
She wasn't waiting to finish her policing career to start living. She started living a long, long time ago.
And Mark joins me now. Mark, the Police Academy is glowing blue tonight in tribute.
The lights were switched on just moments ago, Pete, similar to what we saw at major Melbourne landmarks at the end of last week. I understand the Town Hall has been bathed in blue again tonight, as has the police headquarters in Sydney. A very public display of solidarity at a time that we can't get together to grieve as one. Similar tributes are expected tomorrow night following the funerals of Constable Glenn Humphreys, as well as Senior Constable Kevin King. Constable Josh Presney, who is only 28 years old, will be farewelled here at the Police Academy under those same strict restrictions on Monday. And yes, Pete, a very public ceremony or mass memorial is expected and is planned by Victoria Police as soon as those coronavirus restrictions allow it.